Okay, welcome. Thanks everyone for coming along today. I've just hit record, so just so you know, this session is being recorded. Lots of questions coming in already around, will this be recorded? Can we have access to the recording? So I'm recording it on my end. I will send that through to the Griffith team. So I'll figure out if this is a good thing to release as a recording or not, but we're doing that for today. You will definitely get a copy of the slides today. So I'm going to run us through about 30 slides over an hour and a half. It's going to be very interactive. You're going to be spending a lot of time doing rather than just sitting back and me telling you all the answers. We want to take you through a couple of processes. So you'll spend a lot of time doing, but you will have access to the slides. So some of the things you'll see in there will be links to things like lists of TED Talks and books, different resources. So if you're looking to like, oh, what's the Simon Sinek TED Talk? Don't worry, it's all hyperlinked. It'll be in the slide deck. You can come back to it a little bit later. So it's all going to be there. You'll have access to everything. And today, what we're talking about is how to stand out in a 2020 workforce. So we're really awesome to be with you today. A huge thanks to the Griffith team and a special shout out to Cam for making this possible today, which has been really good. Hoping you get a lot out of it, and this is a good use of an hour and a half of your time. All right, so I want to give you a very quick introduction about who I am, and then we'll get straight into the workshop with you. So just to make sure we're working with the technology, and I will be sharing the slides as Lavicia's just asked in the questions. Let's check the technology is working. If you just want to click on the chat function, can you all please go into the chat function and type absolutely anything? You can type the word pineapple, you can type your name, you can say hello. The chat is public, the chat is saved. So respectful and polite, of course, loving all the hellos. Maybe jump in there and say, where are you from? Are you in Brisbane? Are you on the Gold Coast campus? You're studying online? G'day, Katie. G'day, Isabel. G'day, Willow, Lynn, Corey. Lovely to see you again too, my friend. Sarang's dropping in from the Gold Coast. Very nice. Daniela from the Gold Coast. From quarantine. Adriana, very nice. Jade from Brizzy. Hello, hello. So we'll be using the chat function quite a lot today with lots of people, but we'll also be popping you in breakout rooms so you can chat with one another. So let's talk about very quickly who am I, and then we'll throw you in rooms and you can chat to one another. So my name's Josh. Thanks for joining today. I run an organization called Campus Consultancy, and our mission is connecting and developing leaders across 26, hopefully by the end of the day, 27 different universities that we work with. So we've worked with just under 9,500 students. Been at Griffith a few times, including this year, in person and online. Awesome to be back with you today. Now, what my workshops used to look like were this. So if you have been in a workshop with me before, if you just want to go down to the participants tab, click yes. If you have been in a workshop, if you've ever seen me before, even if that's a LinkedIn post, which is where I live, it's, look, it's what I'm into. Click on yes. If you have no idea who I am whatsoever, which is great because today's not about me, click no. If you've never seen me before, no idea who I am, which is totally fine, click no. Awesome. So looking like a 4-to-1, 5-to-1. Also, welcome. My name's Josh. This is what I used to do. I used to be up on in rooms, on little stages, in front of desks and chairs, and sharing with you with my slides and my clicker. Got to use some of the beautiful spaces on Nathan campus, Mount G campus, Gold Coast campus for Griffith. But now our workshops look a lot more like this. So it's lots of people on Zoom chats, having a chat, having a bit of fun, and hopefully learning a lot of skills. Today, we want to give you some really tangible skills. We want this to be super practical, but also we want to give you an opportunity to connect. We know that this one of the struggles right now is students really wanting to connect with their peers and in a less kind of structured and formal environment. So that's one of the first things we'll do today. But yeah, awesome to be back with Griffith, work with 26, hopefully 27 soon unis. It's been really, really fun to be with you. So today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. We're going to be looking at some future skills, how to find opportunities, how to really stand out in 2020 and make the most of it. But before we get into any of that, we'd love to give you a chance to chat to one another. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. I'm going to open some breakout rooms. When you're popped into breakout rooms, you'll be with 3 or 4 other people. I'd love for you, if you're open to it, to turn at least your audio on. And I will ask when you come back in, if you do turn your cameras on, just to mute them when you come back in, so the whole system doesn't crash. But we should be totally fine. 74 participants will be fine. So I'm going to open some breakout rooms now. When you're in that breakout rooms, all I want you to do is answer one question. I want you to answer, why did you come to this workshop today? What are you hoping to get out of it? So you've got 168 hours in the week. You're choosing to invest an hour and a half, 1.5 hours in this workshop. Why did you come today? What do you want to get out of it? What are you hoping to get out of making 2020 the most of 2020 despite the glaring challenges? So breakout rooms are open now. Please go to the breakout room tab, click accept, jump into your room, 3 or 4 minutes, say hello to your peers. And why did you come today? What do you want to get out of this session? Okay, so for the benefit of the recording, just hanging out in this homeroom, letting people jump into the breakout room. So if you're hearing my voice right now, Lavisha, Rick, Wade, Danny, Sheridan, you should have an invite to join the breakout rooms. Just ask you to accept that, jump into the breakout room, just making sure no one's stuck in a breakout room here by themselves, which is all looking okay so far. Just ask you to jump into the breakout room, go in, say good day, talk about what you want to get out of this session, and we'll be kicking things off formally with the content in a few minutes. So if you're joining a couple of minutes late, that is totally fine. Welcome. Just going to add you into a breakout room now. Just an opportunity to catch up, meet a couple of people, share why you came along today. And if for any reason you're not in a breakout room, but you are hearing my voice, feel free to unmute yourself here. Share with me. Why did you come along today? What do you want to get out of this session? Awesome. So we're going to bring everybody back. Just a minute or two there in the breakout rooms, welcoming some new participants who've joined us. Wonderful. Now, if you are coming back, if you've rejoined our chat already, welcome back. I'd love you to jump into the chat bubble. What are you looking to get out of this session today? Just type a sentence or two. What were you hoping to get out of the session today? Hi there, Grace. Love to see a familiar face. Hi, my friend. You're a rock star. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I see. I like the reference there. Very good. Very good. I get it. Love it. 15 seconds. Everyone will be back. Just jumping in the chat. What are you hoping to get out of today? So one of the big things about 2020 is intentionality. You've got to know why you're doing what you're doing. So if you came along today, why? Was it you're staring at a wall and you thought, you know what, it can't be worse than my wall? Were you hoping to develop a certain skill? Were you looking to meet some new people? Lynn saying some insight when I'm applying for jobs. Okay, very cool. Welcoming everyone back. Jumping into the chat, what are you hoping to get out of today? Will's looking for tips and tricks for making the most of 2020. Awesome. Daniela saying some direction. I'm graduating next semester and I have no idea what's going to happen. I think that's a very common sentiment. We don't know what's going to happen. So jumping into the chat, what are you hoping to get out of today? Graduating the end of the year, want some tips and tricks, trying to make the best of quarantine, skills for employability. Awesome. So let's talk very quickly. I really like the first point in there shared by Lynn, some insights when I'm applying for jobs. So knowing that lots of you don't know my history, very quickly, I spent, formerly an engineer, I spent 1.5 years in graduate recruitment. And in that role, I learned a lot about what employers are looking for. And believe it or not, employers sit in rooms just like this, virtual rooms right now, and they sit around going, oh, we can't find any good students anymore. Where have all the good students gone? And then you go to campus or you come to events full of students, and students sit around in virtual rooms like this and they go, oh, we can't find any jobs anymore. Jobs are so hard to get these days. And what we have is this gap. We have employers, even the ones who are hiring, struggling to find the right talent. And we have students such as yourself, great universities, great degrees, super talented, struggling to make the match with the jobs. And that mismatch comes from not knowing exactly what employers are looking for and not knowing to be able to show them the evidence that you've got those skills. So today is about getting a little bit of clarity on how do you develop the skills that employers want? How do you showcase it? And an article in 2018 from Business Insider, if you're taking notes today, and I recommend it, first number I want you to write down, 70% of jobs in Australia are not advertised. And that's pre-COVID. My guess is it's gone even higher since. 70% of jobs in Australia aren't advertised. So if we're sitting at home in our pajamas, which, I mean, to be fair, everyone's sitting at home in their pajamas right now. But if you're sitting home in your pajamas, just firing off resumes to every ad on Seek, the problem is that's the 30% at the top and everyone's applying for those same jobs. So we want to make sure that we've got the skills down the bottom that target all jobs, but also we're pushing it out and getting you in front of more people. So there's a series of workshops. This is just the first. In some of the future ones, hopefully we'll talk about some things like LinkedIn, personal branding, how do you get your message out? But today, what do you need to do to make the most of this situation? We don't have to like it, but we're in it. And if we can't change it, it's not necessarily a problem. It's our reality right now. So what can we change? What's within our control and what's not? That's what we want to talk about today. Now, having spent some time in graduate recruitment, I promise you this, here's the first question any recruiter's ever going to ask you in the future when you apply for a job. It's really easy. They're going to say, what did you do when COVID-19 happened? It's going to be the first question because it's easy. Employers want to hire great students, great grads to make great employees, to make the businesses, nonprofits, governments, whatever, grow. So it's really, really easy for them if they want to find the best people to figure out, well, let's try to thin the herd. Let's figure out when everyone had a whole bunch of time to potentially sit at home, no one was supervising them, what did you do? Now, for some of us, we've lost our jobs, and that's brutal and it's unfair. For some of us, we're in really struggling and challenging situations. I have a friend studies medicine, can't do their degree right now. Degree's been delayed a year. But regardless of whether your degree's been delayed, you're studying online, you've lost your job, your internship fell through, your overseas planned trip hasn't happened, what we need to focus on is what's within our control. Because employers are going to ask us, what did you do at that time? Because guess what? Every employer in the country is also in this situation. And employers look towards their employees and say, we need to get through this. How are we going to get through this? And if their employees throw their hands in the air and say, well, there's nothing we could do, this isn't what we signed up for, you don't pay me enough for this, then you've got a team of people who are all struggling together, and that's not necessarily what we need. We want to find out what we can focus on, what we can change, what we can influence. So when we come out the other side, we might not be in a better position than we're in right now. We might have had to take a step backwards to take a few forward in the future. But hopefully we're at least more resilient and a little bit stronger for the experience. So today's about figuring out what are some of the skills and mindsets we can foster and hone in this time so that you can stand out in 2020, knowing that it's a tough time for all of us. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to jump onto my slides here and let's start talking about what we're going to go through today. So a couple of principles, 3 principles if you get nothing else out of this session at all. The first principle is give whatever you're doing 100%. If you're in a volunteering role, lean into it. If that's the main thing that excites you, that gets you out of bed, if you love it, if it fills you with energy, lean into it. Do more of it. I really encourage you, if you're in a degree, if you've still got work, if you're still in a volunteering role, lots of people don't have that. So if you've got that, be really grateful for it as much as you possibly can and give it all you've got. Now, self-care, totally critical in there. We want to make sure that you're filling up your own buckets, because if you're not full, it's very hard to give to others. But if you do have the energy, I really encourage you to lean into what you're doing. This is the time to make the main thing the main thing. So the quote below, the whole idea is to keep the main thing the main thing the main thing. Whatever is the big thing in your life, lean into it, focus on it. And hopefully you'll come out of this saying, if nothing else during COVID, I really focused on those 3 subjects. I really got a lot out of that volunteering role. I got a whole lot out of this virtual internship that I did. So principle number 1, give it 100%. Number 2, safe is the new risky. So there's an author and a blogger I absolutely love named Seth Godin. If you've got access to the internet browser right now, you might just type in Seth, S-E-T-H. If you type in Seth into Google, Seth Godin will pop up. He's absolutely amazing. I don't know why there's a little button there. Cool. Absolutely amazing. And he says, and this principle, which I absolutely love, is that safe is the new risky. Right now, playing it safe in terms of your career is really, really risky. The safest thing of like, oh, I won't apply for any jobs right now because I don't know if people are hiring. I'll wait until this is over. I'll sort of get through the storm. Now is the time that if we play it small here, we're actually putting ourselves at a lot of risk, because when we come out of this, things are going to be really competitive. We're seeing big businesses fail. We're seeing unis cut back. We're seeing some amazing unis expand and innovate. Griffith is really leading the way there in a lot of ways, leaning into these different opportunities. But we don't know if this Zoom call is going to be the single best workshop anyone's ever run in the history of time. In fact, I'm 100% certain it's not. But this is a learning experience. We can't just go, okay, the safe thing to do would just be to sit back and wait till we can run in-person events. Doesn't work. That's risky. So for you and your career, I really want you to think about what are the things that might scare you, intimidate you, that might worry you a little bit, and how could you choose to lean into them? It's not going to make it any less scary, but the call to action is to be more brave, more courageous, because playing it small during this time is really, really risky. More on this soon. The third principle is to give. At a time like this, being grateful for what we have and giving to others is powerful. So in this time, I'd ask you, especially if you're having a hard day, a hard week, ask yourself, what have you done for other people today, this week, this month, this trimester, this year? Because if you can find an opportunity to give to other people, lots of people are struggling right now, which means there's lots of opportunities for you to contribute. So in summary of these first 3 principles, take nothing else out of today. Whatever you're doing, 100%. Number 2, safe is a new risky. And number 3, I'm going to ask you to give. And we'll give you ways to do all of that today. So we're not just going to say that sounds good. We're going to show you exactly how. All right. So what we want to lean into now are two questions around what is the challenge at this time and what are the opportunities at this time. So in a moment, I'm going to pop you back into some breakout rooms. I'm going to get you to meet some new people. And the conversation I want you to have for 3 or 4 minutes is I want you to, as much as you feel comfortable, really share with the people in your room, what is it that you're struggling with right now? Is it online studies? Is it finding job opportunities? Is it knowing exactly what employers want? All that sort of stuff. And then I want you to lean into what are the opportunities? What are the things right now that if you have a little bit more time, if you don't have to travel back and forth to university every day, if you're online and you can work with people all over the world at the push of a button away, what are some of the opportunities that have popped up here? So even though it's tough, I'm going to ask you to look for, see if you can find even one example of an opportunity that's popped up because of this new world and new environment that we're living in. So with that, I'm going to recreate breakout rooms. You'll get to meet some new people. I'm going to ask you when you're in those rooms to unmute yourself and share, say hello, tell your other peers what you're working on, looking for what are the challenges, and then focusing in where might the opportunities be. Now, this isn't naive. The world is perfect right now. It's not. It's challenging. But if you were to find a silver lining, what could that be? Rooms are open now. Take 3 or 4 minutes. We'll come back in at 9:20. Meet some people, say hello, looking for the opportunity. So if you're hearing me right now, there should be a breakout room notification. So if you just go down to the bottom, hover over breakout rooms, there'll be a notification there to join a breakout room. So you'll get a lot out of this session if you lean in, jump, share, speak with your peers, and also a really good time to connect. So if you've got a minute or two, unmute yourself, jump into the breakout room, say hello. Where might there be an opportunity at this time? And also an opportunity to share. What might you be struggling with? What might you be finding challenging? Take a minute or two, see what you find, and we'll bring you back in 2 or 3 minutes. Now, for the benefit of the recording, everyone in the breakout rooms is looking for some of the opportunities. So if you're watching this at home, if you're listening to the recording, the questions I want you to be thinking about are things like, if you look at your day, now compare your previous day when you might have been studying or you might be on work placement to what your day looks like right now. What might be some of the benefits or some of the opportunities of not having to travel? So if you do commute, so if you're listening to this, maybe there's a 50, 60% chance that you travel every day, maybe higher. So I want you to be thinking about how much time is spent traveling. Is it half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening? That's an hour a day. And an hour every day for a year, of say with 200 days of semester, whatever it is, 100, 150, 200 hours. But even in a week, 5 hours a week, what might you spend that time doing? If you consciously reallocated your time, where could that time be spent? So as you're thinking about today, as you're thinking about where might the hidden opportunity be, it's crucial. And one of the points I'll highlight to the group in a moment is if we don't see 2020 as an opportunity, if we see 2020 as something to survive, that mindset of scarcity is going to limit how much we can achieve. And this is how much we can achieve in terms of how much we can give, how much we can grow, how much we can be grateful for. But we need the mindset that this is a time for us to go above what we've done before, to exceed our expectations and even go higher than our previous standards. That's what we're looking for. So if it's time in commuting, is it you have more time to rebuild some relationships from school or with family? Is it in your health and fitness? Is it that maybe you didn't have a really strong health and fitness habit and now that you're in a little bit more routine, you can be working from home, studying from home, to have the chance to go for that walk once or twice a day? Can you spend more time with the dog? Where are those little opportunities for you? Whether it's health, mental health, your relationships, your career, your academics, can you build a study calendar? Do you like being at home and having control of your environment? Where are those little opportunities? So with that, in a moment, I'm going to bring everyone back into the room. We're going to see what they're reflecting on. Could they identify some opportunities? Hopefully we'll share a few and then we'll get straight into the content for today and start talking about key skills to develop. So closing the rooms down now. If you are tuning in for a little Easter egg, 60 seconds, the breakout room timer. Hopefully Zoom updates this soon. So we've got to wait 60 seconds to bring everyone back. So if you're listening in, you're like, why is there this 60-second delay between instructions bringing people back? And it's purely because there's a 60-second timer on the breakout rooms. As we're bringing everyone back, Will Laver, can you hear me there, my friend? Will, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
Mate, that background was amazing. Can we see it one more time?
Oh, thank you. Is is it working?
It's working. I love it. What are we looking at there?
I think it's some like art exhibition over the world. I got an email with a bunch of Zoom backgrounds in it and
Oh,
stole it. So yeah,
I like it. Who sent
thank
out all
you.
the Zoom backgrounds via email?
It's Adobe's creative magazine called 99U.
Very cool.
That's where I stole it from.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank
Will, if
you.
people are looking for, just as everyone comes back from the breakout rooms, we've got Will here who's just popping in. Will, would you be so kind potentially as to share a link to 99U? So if anyone on this call is looking for an awesome Zoom background, and if someone's like, what did you get out of that? How to stand out in the workforce? You're like, well, I stand out with an awesome Zoom background. Will, could you pop a link in the chat if you can find one? Would that be cool?
Yeah, for sure.
You're
That's
a gent.
easy.
Appreciate you.
No, thank you.
No worries. Alrighty. I'd love for you to, if you could think of potentially a little opportunity for this year, and we're with you for an hour and a half. So we just want to spend this first little bit framing it, and then we're going to go straight into the skills. If you can think of an opportunity, something that 2020 presents as in a way that you could grow, that you could give, that you could connect, anything like that, could you just jump down to the participants tab and click yes? So if you found something that studying from home, working from home, being online, even if it's a little thing, if you were able to identify a little opportunity that might have popped up, click yes. And I'm going to ask around and see if we can hear from a few of you. So Erin, are you hearing me there, Erin?
Yeah,
Hey Erin, how you doing?
good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Erin, what was a little opportunity that you might have identified?
We kind of talked about having extra time to like explore hobbies and stuff like that. Like
Okay.
we're a bit bored, so taking a break from study and just
Yes.
reading and playing games and stuff like that. So
Okay, cool. I like it, I appreciate it. Grace, can you hear me there?
Hello. Yes, I
Hey,
can.
hey Grace, lovely to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Grace, what might be an opportunity that you've identified?
Well, despite my youth, I'm not very technological.
You are
um,
humble though, very humble. I have so much love for you.
it's not my thing. I'm not very much into social media and whatnot. So with Group of Mates, who I volunteer with, we've moved all of our stuff online. So I've
Hmm.
had to learn how to use a lot of programs I've never had a reason to use, like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, doing Netflix parties. So it's been a chance to enhance my technology skills, and that's a big part of the modern workforce, I think. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
That's a big one, and it's in the slides coming up later. You've jumped in on hot tip number 4. But if you are looking for the Griffith Guild, if you're looking for different events that are coming up, or for Griffith Mates, there are a whole bunch of links that are on there that you can check them out on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on different organizations like that. Again, they'll all be in the slide deck. Thanks for sharing that, Grace. I'd love to hear from one more, and then let's get into the skills for today. Let's see who we've got a yes from. Will. Oh, we had Will up before. Will, you got another one for us, my friend?
Or a thing that I've learned, or
Yeah, like a little
yeah,
opportunity right now. So we've heard from Erin and
um,
Grace. What did you come up with?
like just volunteering locally and like being able to use my skills and talent to help local causes and stuff like that.
That's
And so I thought
beautiful.
that's really cool. And then being able to sort of relax a little bit and take study a little bit more chill and a little bit more at my own pace. I've really enjoyed that.
And Will, if I can ask a follow up there, what sort of causes are you interested in? Where does your heart pull you in terms of volunteering?
So I'm volunteering at my local church, doing a lot of digital media and
Wow,
like video work, just so like the community can stay connected and all that. So
I love that.
yeah, thank
Amazing, go
you.
you. And that really leans on that third element to give. So if there's a cause, there's something that's near to you that you can lean into and get involved with. I think now is a really great time to do that. We need giving. We need this. Giving is an abundance mindset. And all I want to get out of this first little part of today, the framing so crucial. We need the abundance mindset that if we're not giving, it's harder to think that we've got something to give. Whereas that moment, whenever you give it away, it's like, well, I've already got it. You can't give what you don't have.
Yeah,
So by giving, it's a beautiful way to also echo back and receive the things that you want. If you want more
yeah,
connection in your life right now, give connection and love. If you want to laugh more in life, you might be like Mark, who's got a funny background here of the Tiger King, who's now up on the screen. If you want to laugh more in life, make other people laugh. That thing that you want is in you to give away first. so often the opposite of what we normally think.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for Mark. Thanks for Will, Grace, and Erin for sharing their insights. Let's get into some core skills for today. All right. So back to our slides. So today we've got you, and thank you for joining us on how to stand out in a 2020 workforce. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things, including 5 future skills. We've heard about some of the opportunities. We're going to nail down and find those opportunities. You're also going to make a huge big Google sheet full of opportunities, which will be a resource that serves you even after today. So let's get started. In terms of what you'll learn from today, these core skills, we're going to dive straight into that. So according to the Australian Financial Review, Top 100 Graduate Magazine 2019, 5 skills that employers were looking for in the workforce are these 5. So we're going to call them today our future 5 skills. These are 5 skills that, if nothing else during COVID, I'm going to challenge you today to try to develop each of these 5 skills in really tangible ways. But before we do that, we want to know, where do you think you land on these skills right now? Where do you think on a 0 to 5 scale you are on these 5 skills? So what we're going to do is, in the chat, we've brought up a Google Doc, which we'll all be working on today, and you'll have access to after today to stay in touch with and find other resources. So in the chat right now, if you want to go to the chat, you'll see a bit.ly link. I'd love for you to take that link and open it up in your internet browser, bit.ly/cc_griff5. So for the top 5 skills. Now I'm going to open that up in my browser so you'll be able to see it. For the benefit of the recording, you'll also know what's happening. So what I'd love for you to do is, you're opening that up, and one of the benefits of being online is I can see 12, 13 people are in. I'd love for you to go down in column A. Don't all pick row number 3, 4, or 5. Pick a random row and type in either your first name or type in a code name. So if you want to be the mysterious pineapple, you can be the mysterious pineapple. That's totally fine. Pick a name, pick a row, and I want that to be your row for today, which we'll work off. What I'd love for you to do is do a quick little bit of self-analysis. So if these are 5 skills that employers want, 5 skills, and there are more, but these are some of the top 5 skills AFR reported, I want you to go through these columns and give yourself a completely sort of moment in time rating, 0 to 5 or 1 to 5. How strong do you think you are in these skills right now? Now, it's not a race. I'd really like you to take 2 or 3 minutes and really think about it. But moment in time on the 21st of April, if across the board in Australia, recruiters are saying, we want you to have these 5 skills. 1 to 5, where do you think you are right now? So if you're looking down communications, we'll all start there. You've got really strong skills. You've displayed them. And not only that you've displayed them, but if you're putting yourself as a 5, you've displayed them in an environment where you can say that led to a result. So I don't just think I'm a good communicator, but I know that by communicating, that helped a team or an organization or my local church or a volunteering group or Griffith Mates or the Guild, whatever it is, move towards a result. 4, if you feel like you're pretty good at it, something you've really developed, and your peers would say, yeah, that's something that, we've got Chris, Jessica, Sarang in here. Your peers would say, yeah, they're pretty good at that. 3 is, you're not bad at it. Your peers would say, yeah, they're pretty good at it. You'll say, if we've got a 3 here, Tegan's just giving herself a 3. So how strong is Tegan as a communicator? And say, yeah, she's not bad. She's not too bad at all. Number 2, or giving yourself a rating of 2, if you feel like this is something that you struggle with a little bit, something that you want to develop, something that you want to improve on. And 1, if you would say, this is actually something that's maybe caused issues. So if you're in a team and it's a 1, maybe you've been in team environments before and that hasn't really worked, that's caused problems. Now, what's crucial here is you're not competing against anybody. Now, if you go through, like someone can go through, you can do it right now, give yourself straight 5s. Awesome. The problem with that is I've got no gold stars to give out. So this isn't about just giving yourself a high score. That doesn't help us. What we're honing in here is what's crucial to this time. We want to develop a growth mindset. And that means we look at this as an opportunity to improve, not as, oh, well, I'm a 2. That means I'm only ever going to be a 2. That's not what we're doing at all. So a minute or 2 to fill this out. A couple of things are coming through the chat. So I just want to check where everyone's at. Some people saying, I can't access it. How do I access this? Dash has jumped in. Exactly right. So you just have to copy that link in, bit.ly/cc_griff. So if you literally copy and paste that as if it said www.facebook.com, copy it into a browser. So I'll show you on my screen right now. If I was to copy and paste it in like that, click enter, and it will load up. So in a lot of our workshops, we're going to use Google Sheets. We want you actually doing. We don't just want you sitting back and passively listening. So if you copy that in, that will load up. My internet's a little bit slow, but sure enough, there we go. Cool. All right. Now I want you to have a bit of a look across here. And what do you think in general, if you were to look across these skills, let's have a bit of a look at where do you think, and I'd love you to type it in the chat, where do you think on average, all of us who are in this call today, self-identify that we're maybe struggling the most? Where do you think we're struggling the most? Where do you think we're the strongest? And is there any difference between the different categories? Let's have a bit of a look. So we can be a bit fancy. We can look at some of the averages. So in comms, we've got a 3.7, 3.9 in teamwork, 3.6 interpersonal skills, 3.4 planning and org, 3.6 in resilience. So as a quick take, there's not big differences between any of those, but maybe planning and org is an area that we're struggling with a little bit, which makes sense. We're all online, we're adapting to that world. So we're going to start working there and we'll start talking about that in a wee moment. Alrighty. Very nice. So the first thing with this always is a self-assessment. We want to know, where are we at right now? And we're going to come back to this in a little moment, and we're going to start talking about opportunities very, very soon. So I'm just going to check the group chat. V saying a massive procrastinator. We'll come back to that. We'll deal with procrastination. And in fact, when we talk about some of the top skills to develop this, we're going to start with planning and organization, and we're going to look at that exact topic. So if you are a procrastinator, I've already prepared the slide. Watch this. This TED Talk by Tim Urban. If you've seen this, I'd love you to go to the participants tab. If you've seen this TED Talk, click yes. If you haven't, click no. And we'll know if you're paying attention. And if we have 77 people, click either yes or no. If you've seen this, click yes. If you haven't, click no. So back into the Zoom chat, click on the not in the chat, don't type yes or no. So if you've typed yes or no, my brain's not quick enough. I can't add that up. So we want you to go down the bottom, click on the participant tab. So if you hover around the buttons down the bottom of the screen or over the display, you'll see participants clicking yes or clicking no. So it looks like we've got 13 yeses, 33 no's. So one thing you might take away from today, I mean, you're procrastinating by watching a video about procrastinating. This TED Talk by Tim Urban is absolutely brilliant. Very, very funny, very entertaining, but talks about the downside of procrastinating and what happens if he talks about submitting his thesis on the TED stage. He talks about what happens if we keep the student mindset towards procrastinating as we go on in life and what can be the downsides of that. So given V mentioned procrastination, I thought I'd highlight that. So for today, we're going to dig into where you can go to develop these top 5 skills. We're going to crowdsource a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. But to start with, I want to start off with some of these tips. So today we're going to use 7 different tips for how you can get the most out of 2020. And the first one of 7 that I have for you is using Google Calendar to manage your time. So I'd love you once again to jump onto that participants tab. If you use a calendar, can you please go to the calendar and click, Can you go to the participants tab and click yes? And if you don't use a calendar to manage your time, click no. So if you do, click yes. If you don't, click no. Okay, awesome. So 25 people saying yes, about 15 people saying no so far. So for the 20 or so people that don't use a calendar, this will be a game changer. Google Calendar is free. It's available on iPhone. I use it on my phone, my laptop. It all syncs. You can move these little bubbles around. So if I don't go to the gym at 6:30 in the morning, obviously this is from before, can't go to the gym right now, I can drag that down to 10:45 on Thursday. I can move it around. But one of the best things about Google Calendar is this feature. Now, I have no stock in Google. I have no vested interest in you downloading Google Calendar. It's totally free, but is this feature. So with Google Calendar, what's so powerful is you get to categorize different elements of your life into 12 different areas, and it's called chunking. So for me, I've got when I'm running workshops, that's red. Exercise is gray. Lecturing, University of Melbourne, dark blue. Meetings, purple. And so these different elements for you might be, what is your study? When do you have to watch lectures? When are you going to work on a group assignment? When are you going to exercise? When are you going to walk the dog? When are you going to have dinner? For me, this feature frees up time and gives me more time in the week. So my top tip for standing out in 2020, I'm not just saying this for our good health because I like Google Calendar. One of the top 5 skills that employers want is organization and planning. And when I recruit people and sit down in interviews, I would say, please show me, bring it to the interview. This is what we used to do. Show me an example of your planning and organization system. We would ask potential recruits to bring in an example of their planning system. So whether that's photos of the wall, screenshots of their calendar, or show it on their laptop, we wanted to know that you could plan and organize your time. Because you've got to think about this from the employer's point of view. one of the keys to standing out in 2020 is empathy. Can you lean into what people are struggling with right now? And so when you think about employers and you think about empathy, why would an employer hire you? Well, they hire you for your skills to help them drive their business, their nonprofit, the government, whatever it is, their startup. And if you can't plan and organize your own time, why would someone pay you to try to figure that skill out on their time? So one of the strongest things you can do, if you don't have a calendar, 15, 20 or people so far, I really recommend leaning in, starting with, at least for the next week, this week, use Google Calendar. Give it a go. Set it all up. It's super intuitive and easy. It's even a little bit of fun, and you cannot manage what you don't measure. So I'd really recommend starting there. Now, if you do have questions today, jump in the chat, try to answer them as we go. So I've got a couple of notes coming in here. Grace has said, using a calendar has changed my life for the better. If it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. Geez, Grace, I really almost want to like screenshot that and add it to the slide. I want to add it to the slide deck. That's amazing. A calendar can be so powerful, had the exact same impact on my life too. Kira's saying I'm the same. So tip number one, using a calendar. How do you want to stand out? If you want to get better at those planning and organization skills, use a calendar, measure your time, track your time. And a quick little tip, at the end of every week, I do this 1 hour, which I call 60 and wrap, which stands for reflect, analyze, and plan. So in my end of week reflection, 60 and wrap, it's my favorite hour of the week. I sit down with my calendar, I go through where I spent my time, and I add all this time up. So what you'll notice here is I was coming up and running a Griffith event this week, interestingly enough. But for me to come up to Griffith and run an event, that meant I was catching a bus at 7:30 in the morning, flying to the Gold Coast, going to my accommodation, spending some time with family, traveling out to Griffith. Like that's a 12+ hour day to run a 2-hour event. So when I look at my travel, one of the benefits, one of the opportunities I see now with COVID is, one, we don't have to charge for travel, so it's cheaper, we can do more of it. But two, it means that I can cut that time back and reinvest it. So this morning, instead of being on a Skybus, we're running a LinkedIn Live show every morning, and it's a way that I can try to serve my community and the people that I care about. Evie's jumping in saying, what if you've set up a calendar plus reminders, but find that you still don't do it? So for me, 2 ways you can influence yourself to do anything: stack pleasure on top of the idea of doing it, stack pain on top of the idea of not doing it. So I'd really think, okay, if in a year I didn't do this thing, how would my life be different? If it doesn't matter, you might be looking at something that's actually fits into a pretty low importance category, which we'll come back to. But if you're looking at something that's up here in high importance, whether it's urgent or not, there's long-term growth or things that really matter. If you're not doing it, they'll have an effect on your life. And if having an effect on your life and it being a negative and you fail an assignment, you drop out of a course, you let someone down, if that's not enough to kick you into gear, I would say that maybe we're just putting our time into the wrong things. And maybe it means we need to focus on something we really, really, really care about. So Tamara said, do I have kids? Josh, I don't have kids. I don't have kids. I have lots of friends who do, who use a similar system. But for me, I probably wouldn't be working 7 days if I did have kids. But I'd be looking for within that, regardless of situation, what you can control. What are the things within your power that you can control? How can you schedule your time to make sure, whether it's kids, dependent family members, handling physical, mental, emotional disability, just competing priorities, you still get the most done that you can. So tip number one, leaning in, using a Google Calendar, managing your time to develop those organization and planning skills. All right. Second tip for standing out in 2020, we're going to start talking about areas that you could go to develop. So my second tip in 2020 is to develop SMART goals. So what I want to show you here is a brief little framework, and we might come back to this later and do this in more depth. And I want you to look at these 8 different categories of potential goals. So here we have a mixture. We're looking at academics, things that are fun. Now you might be planning for a holiday, but this might be something like a hobby right now. Finances, relationships, career purpose, personal development, your health in any capacity. And what I'd love for you to do is I want you to imagine that you started using a Google Calendar. If you already have whatever calendar, it doesn't matter. I want you to imagine that you've freed up 1 hour a day, that you started scheduling your time, you really started focusing in, maybe it's getting up a little bit earlier in the morning. I want you to imagine that you've freed up 1 hour a day. And I want you to pick one of these 8 categories that you see on the screen, and I want you to type it in the chat. And if you could work on one of these 8 categories, improving just this one area of your life for 1 hour a day, which area would you focus on? So I want you to look across this 8, type in the chat. Is it your finances? You really want to work on that. Is it your career that you really want to work on? Is it your academics that you'd invest 1 hour a day? Fun, personal development, health, relationships. Lucy saying health. Becky saying health, Lynn saying finances, Shanti saying giving back. Okay, very, very nice. Now, when you focus on these different areas, in doing any of these different areas, you have the potential to develop the 5 skills that employers want. So I want you to think about now, how could you potentially develop and put some time into one of those areas, whether it's personal development, whether it's your finances, whether it's your career, whether it's your health. How could you develop in one of those areas and develop one of these 5 skills? Maybe the ones that you put one of the lower scores on, or one of the higher ones that you'd consider a strength. So I'd love to know, if you were to focus in on one of these top 5 skills and then layer that on top of one of these 8 goal categories, how do you think they go together? How could you pursue something for your purpose or giving back or volunteering and develop teamwork skills or communication skills? How could you develop your academics and get better at planning and organization? So I want you to know, I want to see some examples in the chat. How do these 2 go together? Where could you combine a goal that makes your life better? Because if you improve in any of these areas, life just gets better. As Joe's saying, if you sleep, life just gets better. But then how do you layer that on top of a skill that an employer really wants? Lynn saying I could read up on creating an app. Definitely. So Lynn, if you were to talk about read up on creating an app, where does that fit into these top 5 skills that employers might be looking for? Where does that fit in? Oh, we're not hearing from Lynn. Okay, okay. Oh, planning an organization, totally. So setting aside an hour a day, if you could lean into that idea of, okay, what if I set an hour a day, 15 minutes a day, half an hour a day to learn about apps, then what skills does that develop? Oh, planning an organization. Okay. Sheridan said fun and health would work towards team sport or teamwork. Definitely. And even right now, if you're looking at fun and health and you're like, okay, well, we can't work out as a team, is it creating a Strava community and challenging each other to run the most? Is it getting involved with a club that's doing online events that are still bringing people together? Is it volunteering or giving back in some capacity that's in a team, but focusing on sport as well? Lucy saying, with mine, I chose health. So if I plan an hour a day to do exercise, I can plan to have a regular sleep cycle. Totally. Planning an organization. Kira is saying, watch and learning more skills in your career. For me, I've been watching a lot more videos and reading articles on marketing and creating social media. Okay, so Kira, for your marketing and social media, what skills do you think that will develop here? So you've obviously set aside some time, so that's planning an organization. But what other skills might it develop? If you're looking at marketing, creating social media content. Planning an organization, definitely. What else do you think it might develop? Could it develop more than one skill? Interpersonal skills? Totally. I mean, communication skills, right? Like marketing, creating social media, definitely. And then if you do it with a team, you layer on some teamwork on top of that. And then if you put it out in the world, if you actually develop some social media content, see if it's successful. If it fails, and then you go again and you get better and better, you could develop resilience. So sitting down in front of an employer and saying, you know what I did in COVID-19 during 2020, how do I stand out? Well, I went and developed this new skill set. I looked into social media and marketing. I decided that I was going to plan some time. I was going to focus on how I communicate with other people. I didn't just do it alone. I did it with a group of others in a team. And then I tried some things, and to be totally honest, some of them didn't work. You can develop all 5 of those skills in a single pursuit. So, first tip, scheduling your time. Second tip, focusing in on a goal category, setting some time aside to work on it, making it a SMART goal. So just take away activity from today because it's not a goal setting session. Dig into what SMART goals are: specific, measurable, actionable. I call it actionable, realistic, which is a funny one, and time bound. Set yourself a goal for this year, something to work towards that you're excited about. And then in the process of pursuing that goals, see where you can develop these top 5 skills. Now, for your third one, we're going to talk about doing some online activities, getting in online environments and developing your skills. So what I'd love for you to do is, wrong slide. I'd love for you to go back to the bit.ly link that I shared before. So I've popped it in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint screen. And I'm going to ask you to go back to the Google sheet that we've got online. Now this time, I'm going to hide the first 5 columns that we were previously working on. And I'm going to give you 5 different areas, or 5 same skills, but 5 different columns to work on. So what I would like you to do now is a bit of a group brainstorm. I'm going to pop you in breakout rooms so you can have a chat about it. But what I would love for you to do is focus in on these different columns and think about where could you go to develop these skills. And what we're looking for here is, with all of us on this workshop today, 76 of us on this workshop today, we want real tangible examples of where you could go to develop these skills. So do you have a great resource? Do you have a great article? Do you have a great TED Talk? Can you find an online course? Do you know a club or a program at university that's really good to develop teamwork skills in? Are you involved in a local community group that maybe people could sign up for? So in this sheet, this is the chance to plug your group, plug your program, jump onto Google, do a bit of research, type in like how to develop resilience, find an article, copy it into one of these cells. And let's see if as the community, we can develop a whole bunch of resources here to develop these specific skills. So I'm going to pop you back into breakout rooms. You're going to meet a couple of new people, ask you to turn on your microphones again and share with others in the room. You'll be in rooms with 3 or 4 people. And I want you to lean into these rooms, pick a topic and say, for that particular topic, where could we go? What could we focus on? How could we develop that skill? We want links, we want hyperlinks, we want links to clubs, we want links to programs, all the different things that are offered within Griffith, or maybe even things outside of Griffith. So opening the rooms up now, turn the mics on, say hello, meet and chat to a couple of new people and see what you can find and add to this big Google sheet. So you should have an invite to join the breakout room right now. It's opened up. Jumping into the breakout room, say hello, pick a column, work on it together, see what you can come up with. I'm just making sure if you're still hearing my voice that you accept the breakout rooms. We don't want to leave anyone in a breakout room all by themselves. So just accepting the invite, so jump into the breakout rooms there. A few minutes, see what we can come up with. Alrighty. So for the benefit of the recording, let's do some of these in real time. So say we were to look at teamwork. So one of the things I'll be looking at there is looking at Griffith clubs and societies. So if you're listening into this and you're not involved with Griffith clubs and societies yet, look, you don't even have to spell it correctly. Griffith's got 120 clubs and societies. There you go. So that'd be a really cool link here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that straight in the teamwork slide. Just pop that in there. So, okay, what if you joined a club and society? I'm also, just as you're watching my screen here, just going to edit up this Google Doc so everyone's links all fit in the right place. Let's just keep everyone on task there. Cool. So we've got some little links here. So who knows what all of these different projects are, different things to research. And as people are going to come back together, we're going to look at some of these specific clubs. So, okay, you might go, oh, you could even, there's the idea to start a new club. So if you're watching this recording, nothing would make me happier. Send me a message. What if you were to start a new club right now? What if instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to join a club that already exists, what if you were to say, I'm actually going to try to start a brand new club? So let's put it in here and see if we can get some interest from the people, people listening in. Let's say resilience. So let's say start the Griffith Online Networking Club. And I think if you actually did that, you'd probably have a whole lot of members. Or another new club. Let's have that in there. And the reason I put that in there under resilience is starting a new club, starting any new organization, you're going to come across some challenges. It's definitely not easy. But also there's a big learning opportunity there. So if someone said in resilience, a how to fail podcast, I love that idea. So let's put that in there. Love this idea. Let's give some people some kudos. Very cool. So what we're looking for here is we're looking for little opportunities, things that you could do to develop new skills. Now I'm going to wonder if anyone actually goes and clicks on that, but you could start a new club. You could join a club. If you're looking for interpersonal skills, so you might Google how to develop interpersonal skills. Now what we're going to do here is not just show you where to go, but we want to show you how to get there. So, 10 excellent ways to develop interpersonal skills at work. Okay, so maybe you read 5 of these articles and you go through and you see what they offer. Maybe they'll have some different resources. Maybe they'll have some links to some different articles, master good communication. Stuff is relatively just information heavy, but every so often you might find a good TED Talk. You might find a good link. You're like, oh, I'd like to be more productive. Or you could do this free professional development course. Why not? So this is what we're trying to develop here is, I might say, read 10 articles about interpersonal skills. Let me pop that guy in there. Someone could do an online course. Now, what we want to give people some space for here is, if you're listening in, obviously you're watching the recording, is to give people the opportunity to see how other people are coming up with ideas, and also think about how they might be able to apply that themselves. So if you're seeing someone goes, oh, we could do a psychology course, hopefully the question is, well, what other course could we do? If we want to start a podcast, what else could we start? Seeing some great ideas of someone's obviously plugging Meals on Wheels, which is very, very cool. People are writing in their own lines as well. Awesome. Will's got a bunch of different ideas going on in here. What I really want to look for here are all the different ideas that you potentially use. What are the different ways you could develop those skills? Where could you go? How could you find them? So with that, we'll give people a minute or two, and then we'll slowly start to bring people back in. If you are hearing me right now, you may not have already been assigned to a group, so make sure you assign one. There we go, just one person. 50 minutes in, we'll bring people back, and we always want to do a 52-minute break. So let's bring people back for that, and let's see what they've come up with. Lists, someone said lists, very good. I like that, developing a list is very helpful. Might say start a Google Calendar or any calendar. Helpful tools. Griffith May, Student Society, jump in a group project, Pajama Foundation, whatever that is. Very interested to find out more. So a couple of minutes, 24 seconds of bringing people back. All right. 2 or 3 seconds. Very, very nice. And we're all back. Welcome back. And thanks for staying on with us today. Okay. So let's just pop someone on mute. Make sure we can all listen in. Okay, here we go. Awesome. So we've come up with a whole bunch of cool ideas there. So what I'd love to give you some space for now is just to have a bit of a look, click around, see what you can find on that Google Sheet, see what appeals to you. Click through onto a couple of links and see if anything there's interesting, things that you might try, things that you might commit to or put into your calendar for this week, next week. Just have a bit of a click around, look at some of the links, see if you find anything interesting there. If you're not a member of a club or society, maybe just clicking on that, adding on that, and seeing if you can sign up to one. There's some links in here into things like Griffith Mates, there's links into the how to start a new club, clubs and societies. Have a bit of a click through, see what you like the sound of. And think about what skills, if we were to open up that first category again, what skills that you know that you might want to develop, and then how could leaning into some of these different areas help you develop those particular skills. So I'd love you now to do a comparison, look over at columns B to F, look at the areas you want to develop, and then scroll down through those categories and see what could you pull from this, what could you try, how to stand out in 2020, what could you do and start trying to implement that might help you in those different areas. And if you find something, I'd love you to pop it in the chat or take yourself off mute and share it with everyone. What's something that you might try, you might give a go, you might sign up to or get involved with. Take a minute or two to look around. What do you like the sound of? What are you seeing on this list that you like, that you might want to get involved with?
Am I able to just start speaking if I want to, or how does that work?
It works just like that. You have our full attention.
Okay, cool. So I'm really bad with planning and organization. I'm better when I did the Australian Air Force stuff, so pretty much my schedule is already set for me. I do what I'm told, I have everything organized. I work really well in regime, but creating the regime myself is another story. So I think I do really good with lists.
Yep.
And so, and also the calendars, if I have a calendar, if I have a schedule, I'll run by that really well. I'm in and focused. I think it's sticking and learning how to create those and spend the time on actually entering those and learning how to do that. That's the thing. So maybe the Google Calendar thing and starting to write lists is something that might help me in that area of weakness.
Yeah, very cool. And that can be something too that it might be, do you set aside any time in your day or your week to actually come up with a plan? Like, do you sit down at the start of the day or on a Saturday or on a Tuesday? Do you ever just take some time to think about making a plan for the week?
Honestly, usually that's what I do when I'm in bed about to sleep. I think about what I need to do for kind of on a general over the next couple of days kind of thing. And I just keep it in my head and yeah.
Cool. Have you ever, V, have you ever had that experience where you're about to go to the shopping center and you need to buy a couple of things and you're like, I'm going to write a list. And you're like, actually, I don't need to write a list. I'm going to remember.
Yeah.
What happens when you get to the shopping center?
Actually, I'm really good at remembering what's on my list.
Okay.
I'm quite good with memory recall, but I don't stick to the list. I add things to the list as I go. Yeah.
So
even if it's not needed. So it's that I want this, even
Yeah.
though I don't need it kind of
Love
thing.
it.
And
Love
separating
it.
that
So-
want and need.
Got you. So the downside of a list in opposed to managing your time is a list has no time on it. You can just write a million things on a list. Versus putting that into a physical planner, whether it's a sheet or a calendar or whatever, it makes you put a time limit on it. Makes you say, okay, I'm going to do this thing at this. Exactly. So I'd experiment with that. Yeah. And see if,
I mean, like I waste time, like, and again, even going to the shopping center for a handful of things, I will be there looking at things, comparing things, saying, whoa, and I will spend too much time in the shopping center, like just because
Gotcha.
I have to analyze what the best option is and go from there. Like, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. And interesting to see if any of the tips today can be helpful to help you with that. Awesome.
I'm looking forward to see that too.
Awesome. Thanks, V. Tamara said, question, when you've been in reactive mode for a long time, what would be the best step to turn that into a planning structure? So Tamara, I think it's a really good idea. If you want to turn it into a planning structure, I think your answer's in the question. It's make a plan. Reactive by definition is responding to things as they kind of pop up. And so making a plan is literally planning for the future. So I would think about that maybe even if it's a 1 week time frame, a 2 week time frame. Very handy when it comes to exams and study too, to plan out. I used to plan out a month in advance when I was studying. And so I knew when my exams were, I knew how much they were worth, and I roughly assigned times or even days into what I was going to study. So I knew that, if I can't get all this done in 2 weeks, it'd be 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And I'd bring it back as far as it needed to be. And I knew if I stuck to that plan, the stress and the anxiety never got too high because I just had to do what was there. So as you're looking at different goal categories or different skill categories, I really encourage you, make a plan, stretch it out, maybe over a couple of weeks or even a month, and figure out what do you want a Monday to look like, a Tuesday to look like, a Wednesday to look like. As a simple framework, there's 5 skills here. There's 5 days in a week. So what would it look like if for everyone on this workshop today, you said Mondays, they're communication skills days. I'm going to do something on Monday to develop my communication skills. Tuesdays, teamwork. I'm going to do something in a teamwork, whether it's reading about teamwork, watching a video about teamwork, getting involved in a group project, getting involved in a student club, and so on and so forth. Thursday, there might be your planning day, and you shuffle it. Maybe it makes more sense for Monday to be your planning day. But I really focus on, you've got 5 days, you've got 5 skills, you have the weekends off, but could you find a little bit of time throughout the week to be intentional about developing these skills, knowing these are some of the things that employers want? All right. So we're coming in on 10 o'clock. We're at 2/3 of the way through this workshop this morning. I really thank you for coming in. You've all got 168 hours in the week. You've invested an hour and a half of them with me and all of us here today. So I really want to thank you. And for this last half an hour, we want to move on with some really practical tips and things that you can apply. So this Google Sheet will stay live. You'll have access to it. The link's only being shared with all of you. There are links here for virtual coffee catch-ups. I'm so interested into what that links through to. There's links to Toastmasters for communication skills, clubs, free courses online, and I'm going to link you with 9 more free courses before the end of this workshop as well. All right. So let's keep moving. Let's go back into our slide deck, and I want to give you some more practical skills and tips that you can apply. So we've talked about using a Google Calendar. We've talked about setting SMART goals. The third one, if you want somebody like, where can I go to develop these skills? There's an awesome organization called Inside Sherpa. who I absolutely love, and they offer something called virtual internships. So what a virtual internship is, if you go to a platform like Inside Sherpa, it's totally free for students. It doesn't cost students a cent. The business model is set up that employers want to hire great grads. So one of the ways they can find them is they put up a virtual internship, which isn't a real piece of work, but it models a real piece of work. And the idea is you develop certain skills there such that as you go through this project, it's almost like submitting an assignment, but you submit it to an employer. Some of you are like, I don't want to do any more assignments. It's different. And you get to say, okay, I did a virtual internship with KPMG or Accenture or McKinsey or Citibank. These are all great things that can go on your CV or on your LinkedIn. And also your information is shared with the employer. So it's online, it doesn't cost a cent. Employers cover all the costs so they can access great students. You can follow the data through, so Inside Sherpa can see and make contact with you and support you. They're a really great organization. We absolutely love them. So my third tip for how to stand out in 2020, do a virtual internship. Lots of people have lost jobs, lost internship activities in the real world. Virtual internships, I think, are going to boom in the future, and this is a great place to start. So I'd really recommend checking out Inside Sherpa. Sign up to a virtual internship. It's a really practical thing to show employers that you've done, and you can imagine how you develop all of these 5 skills in that environment. So if you want to know a little bit more about Inside Sherpa, super practical, go there, you can do it. There's a heap of information in the slides. Click to enroll, which will be in the slide deck. I'll send it out to all of you today. And if you want to select that you came through a campus consultancy workshop with us, that helps us work with them and figure out, one, we benefit from that. Obviously, we're in a partnership with them. But 2, it helps us see how many people from this workshop ended up getting jobs because they heard of Inside Sherpa here, they did an internship, they went on and got a job in the real world. So that'd be really cool. If you want to do it, share it with anyone out there. Tip number 3. All right, tip number 4, join a club like at Griffith or start doing some volunteering. So some of the organizations, obviously, you could get involved with Griffith Mates or the Student Guilds, but I'd love to know where else on campus or virtually on campus can you volunteer? So Kira's asking, can you put this on a CV? You definitely can. Michelle said, awesome. Andrea said, can you do more than one with them? You can. Would that be more useful than real world soft skills? So Jade, I think right now, just closing the loop on sort of Inside Sherpa, these are all skills that, like, the ability to communicate. If I'm a good communicator, hopefully if I get better, I can communicate through a camera and in person. Like, it's the same skill, except there's a camera in the way. So it's always great to work with people. We love working with people, but you can develop teamwork skills online. If you're in this workshop right now and you're participating, you're asking questions, you're contributing to the Google Sheet, that's teamwork. So I'd really lean into that. And Daniela, my understanding is it's not credit towards your degree. It's something to put in front of an employer. Cool. More information there. Feel free to check it out later. That always stirs up lots of questions, but jump in, research them, spend an hour researching them. They'll answer all your questions. Tip number 4 is around volunteering, getting involved with what Griffith has to offer. So there's a couple of different places you can go. Obviously, the Student Guild. So if you haven't yet liked the Student Guild, if you haven't got involved there, I really recommend jumping on board. Obviously, this is from when we were at the Gold Coast. I know there are other student guilds that you can support and get involved with. But I'd love to hear from a couple of you. Is there anywhere that you currently are volunteering at Griffith, whether is it as an ambassador, as a mate, as a club rep? Where are you volunteering right now? And maybe use this as an opportunity to share that with other people in the workshop if they wanted to get involved. So is there anyone right now who's volunteering on campus that'd be willing to, even if it's virtually on campus, they'd be willing to share with the group? And if you are, just unmute yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Where could you volunteer and help out the Griffith student community?
So it's me again. Hello. I've actually been overseas for quite some time doing exchange programs in several different countries. So I'm doing volunteer work as a Griffith ambassador for Go Global.
Awesome.
Although I haven't been able to do too much, but currently a lot of my work is more kind of in the regards of like blogging and giving people advice on
Cool. That's
that
interesting,
kind of
V.
thing.
So that
Yeah.
idea of like you can volunteer by blogging. So one of those things,
Yeah.
if you're listening in right now, whatever faculty, whatever department you're within, whatever programs you're within, what if you were to send them an email today and say, hey, I'm a student studying in your degree and your faculty in your program. I'd love to write a blog for you about my experience, about being online or what I loved and what I got out of the experience I had with you in the past.
Griffith University actually does have a specific, you can blog for Griffith University as well. It's actually, I've I've joined the two together, but
Awesome.
you can apply to be a blogger for Griffith University, and then as long as you submit one paper by the end of the year, that's registered and put through after the applications go through.
Thanks,
But
Fee.
you can blog about anything and any different kinds of areas that you're interested in or
Awesome.
experience in.
Thanks, V. That's awesome. And if you'd be so kind as to, if you find a link to that, share it in the chat. I think some people would really benefit from that. We've also had Mark and Lucy jump in. Mark, you're saying that you're a Griffith mentor. How'd you get involved with that?
So I volunteered actually last year because when I started in my first year, a mentor really helped me out of like getting uni work, how to maneuver through university, and how to just get through it. So that really motivated me to actually do my part and help someone else out. So
Cool.
yeah.
It's kind of that idea of sort of giving there too, from that first principle. And I'd love to know from you in terms of these future 5 skills as being a mentor, or even getting a mentor if you're in a position that you're looking for a mentor. Did being a mentor help you develop any of these skills?
Yes. When I saw these 5 skills, I was like, damn, like when I was doing the mentor workshops, I mean, yeah, they're really like honed us in these skills of like how to maneuver, how to communicate, teamwork, and yeah. So I was really thankful for like getting to know what I have and learning what I can improve.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was pretty awesome in doing that.
That's really cool. And those sort of skills, I mean, a lot of mentoring obviously is communication, interpersonal skills.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're out there and you're thinking, okay, how do I develop these skills? How do I stand out in 2020? The whole topic for today, how do I stand out in 2020, is developing these 5 skills. How do I do it? Lean into what your peers are doing. If it's working, do it. If you do what someone else does, you'll get what they've got. Mark's obviously a great communicator there, very friendly fella. So if you want some of those skills, if you want to develop in those areas, maybe lean into mentoring. And if it's not at Griffith, maybe you think about your local community. Is it a community group? Reaching out to your high school. Do they have a mentoring program? Is there a study group popping up for a subject you could get involved in? We'll see if we can hear from one more, because we hear some awesome mentoring happening. Tanisha, are you hearing me there with social clubs? Can you hear me there, Tanisha Wong?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Tanisha. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Tanisha, are you involved in one of the social clubs?
Yeah, so me and some friends were able to start a club and get it approved by Griffith right before the whole kind of like COVID thing happened.
Go you. What is it?
So it's called Uniglow basically, and we were running it at Bonds, and we've just recently brought it over to Griffith and did sign-on day, but unfortunately we're not able to meet on campus anymore. But trying to figure out how to make that go online, but basically it's just a social club where anyone from the university or any other university can come, and we just host games every Monday night, social events. So
Tanisha,
people can come.
You're amazing. That's an epic pitch. Let's see if we can get you some members right now. Is there a sign-up link? How do you become a member?
So we don't at the moment have a sign-up link. We just have an Instagram page, but if you DM the Instagram page, we can definitely add you to the group chat that we have going on.
Okay, cool. So one of those things, some hot tips on that growing a club, I just get a Google form set up, super easy, free, or a type form. And that way you can track people's email addresses and their names. You can send them emails and remind them about the club.
Okay,
but
awesome.
if people want to sign up to the Instagram and just overflow you with DMs, Tanisha, if people are into the idea of playing some games on a Monday, what's the Instagram handle?
I'll just drop it into the chat.
Awesome.
But that's the Instagram handle. But it's just basically to help like reduce loneliness in university communities and help people just meet other people in maybe different degrees if they can't meet anyone in their own.
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely love that. Perfect. So if you're seeing that, if you're into that, check it out. Deborah's saying that's great. Maybe that'll be an awesome thing. I'm sure potentially even I'm not sure, but there's the opportunity that maybe the guild or some other groups might push that out as well and advertise it. Obviously everyone listening in, and if the recording goes up, people watching the recording will obviously hear about Uniglow Griffith. So if you're not seeing the chat in the recording, that's at Uniglow Griffith, UNIGLOW GRIFFITH. So Michelle's saying, sounds great, but I don't have Insta. So Tanisha, if you're ever interested in kind of growing that club, clubs are something I'm really passionate about. Obviously the uni can support you as well, but if you ever want to chat about how to grow that club, just reach out to me. Happy to jump on a call and give you some tips.
All right, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
definitely will.
no worries. Go for it. Keep it up. Okay, that's beautiful. What's some great examples there? So want to develop some of those skills? It's looking at those top 5. It's looking at what others are already doing, mentoring, being an ambassador, being a blogger. Selena saying scouting. Lucy saying peer note-taking is required for some courses. I did a little bit of that at uni too. Part of disability services, if a student is unable to take notes for the course, for whatever reason, another student makes notes during lectures and uploads them for other students to do. So on that idea of giving and contributing, but also, Lucy, is peer note-taking, is that a paid position or is it a voluntary position? See if that pops up in the chat. So Lucy, if you're hearing me there, it's a paid position too. Awesome. So it could be some volunteering, could also be some paid work. What a great way to give back and also to earn some income as well. So maybe check out peer note-taking at Griffith. Lots of these different opportunities that are out there. And the benefit of being the 62 or so people on this workshop, on this call with us today, is you start to see some of these different opportunities. Lucy's saying it's $100 and a certificate of appreciation per trimester. And those certificates are great things to share on LinkedIn, attach to your resume, put out to employers. You're doing a great thing and also showing that you've got the skills. So well done. Now we've got 18 minutes left. We want to get through a few more points for today. Again, I keep emphasizing it, these top 5 skills. If you want to stand out in 2020, it's these 5 skills are a great place to start. And also, as you develop them, you develop these different goals, areas of your life, so you're happier, healthier, more in line with where you want to be headed. But you've also had some really fun experiences and built some good habits in the process. So we've crowdsourced a whole bunch of things online. We've looked at some virtual internships with Inside Sherpa. We've looked at a whole bunch of different options that Griffith already provides that are there on your doorstep. And remember, like if you're not a Griffith student, some of these opportunities aren't open to you. So the fact that you're a Griffith student, I really recommend leaning into it, putting your hand up. And if you get rejected for a whole bunch of things, that's fine. I did 10 volunteering roles as a student, 10. Now, to be fair, I wasn't supporting a family and doing those sorts of things, but I was working part-time, 10 different volunteering roles over my degree because I wanted to make sure I had an edge when it came to the workforce. And really, I just wanted to meet people. I didn't want to be lonely. I wanted to have friends in a community. So really recommend leaning into that. All right. So that was tip number 4, joining a club, Griffith volunteering, group like mates, note takers, etc. I've got 3 more tips for you. Tip number 5. 5, 6, and 7. Yes. Tip number 5, do an online course. So we've already found some online courses in the PowerPoint slide. These are all hyperlinked to online courses for communication, how to start a business, how to build an app, if you're interested in that. Caring for kids, if you're a parent, if you want to, if that's a skill that you want to hone, whether you're going into childcare or whether you're, I don't have kids, I'm 28, but one day I would love to. It might be an interesting time to go, okay, I'm going to do a little course on that. Why not do something different? International student might be learning English, or English speaking student, you might want to learn another language. And then a couple of really interesting courses from Harvard online. For some reason, people love doing Harvard courses online. I think it's because of the Social Network movie, as well as being an amazing university. But if you're looking at stuff into the pandemic, into neuroscience, into how the brain works, we've got a bunch of free online courses. These are all things that can go on your LinkedIn, go on your resume. So they're all hyperlinked and they'll be in the slide deck for you today. Awesome. So 2 more tips before we move on, and then we want to have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A. Hot tip number 6, you want to stand out in 2020. One of the skills you want to develop is to say no. And one of those things that you might think you develop saying no to is saying no to some apps which suck our time. So some really interesting research here coming from a blog at Rescue Time, which I really like. It says on average, we pick up our phones 58 times per day. So if you're hearing me right now, what I'd love for you to do is pick up your phone one of those times. One of those, so you got 57 more times. Pick up your phone right now. I'd love to go to screen time. And if you're open to it, I'd love for you in the chat to share roughly how many hours a day are we on our phone. So are you, and especially we don't want to look at things like if you're calling your mom, that's amazing. Keep calling your mom. So like I came to a workshop with Josh, I can't call my mom anymore. No, but what are the things that you're putting time into that maybe aren't really where you want to be spending time? Are we putting multiple hours into social media, for instance? So I'd love to hear from someone in the chat roughly. Wow, Mark saying a shocking 10. Mark, that's a lot. That is a lot of time, Mark, my friend. But I appreciate you sharing that. Amy saying 4, Lucy saying 4. Now, of those 10, of those 4, some of those hours are gold. There's some really solid research around this that says a certain amount of time on social media on our phone is really great. But I'm guessing there's probably some time in there that isn't as productive as we want it to be. So if we're always saying we might not have time, might struggle with time, one of the easiest way, practically just to the point, delete some of those apps. You can still log on to Facebook and still log on to Instagram online. I don't know if TikTok has an online login, but a lot of these things, you can still log in online if you want them. But if they're not on your phone, it reduces the chance that you'll check them again. If deleting the app is too crazy, turn off the notifications. Don't let them show the little icons and the bubbles, and then you won't be triggered to check it all the time. Now, Facebook, Instagram, they're great. They do some amazing things, but they can be really distracting. So one of the challenges I have for you is, what if just for the rest of this week, if you're hearing me now at 10:16 on a Tuesday, what if on Friday night you put it in your calendar, you said, I'm going to re-download Instagram, but what if for the next 3 or 4 days you just tried to leave it? If leaving it alone, deleting it doesn't work, what if you scheduled it and said, I'm going to check Instagram at 7 o'clock at night, but for the day, I'm going to make it my reward. I'm going to get my study done first and reward myself with social media. Not, I'm going to get a reward all day and then push and push and push study. So I really recommend thinking about deleting apps, turning notifications off, and if all of that is too crazy, moving them through your phone onto a later screen and maybe even in a folder. I've seen that being really, really productive. Took me years to delete Instagram, but for about a year, I moved it into like the third screen over and I put it in a folder. You can name that folder like do not open or something ominous like that. But see if you can pull yourself a little bit away from those socials. You'd be amazed how much time that could free up. Cool. Especially if you're, and Guru's jumping in saying there's a setting downtime that locks you out of apps after a certain time limit. Okay, really interesting. So you can explore some technical solutions there too. I'm a bit old school. I kind of take to it with a hammer, like delete. But if you can find some technical solutions too, that's really, really cool. I love it. Lucy says I'll use that too. So beautiful. All right, and finally, my final tip for today, tip number 7, is to get up, get to work, and make the most of your time. So when we're talking about getting the most out of your day here, if you want to get the most out of 2020, 2020 is a year. Years made up of months, months made up of weeks, weeks made up of days, days is made up of hours. If you have a good Tuesday, you'll have a good life. Good Tuesday today, good Wednesday tomorrow, good Thursday, good Friday. Now you might have a terrible next Tuesday. That's okay. What we want to avoid is every single day us pushing to tomorrow the things we need to be working on. And we want to ask, how do we have the best day? How do we get the most out of it? Now, this isn't easy, but when I was at university, one of the best things I did is I had a couple of friends who were really interested in getting up, going to the gym in the morning. And we'd have to go to the uni gym before it got busy, and it opened at 6 a.m. To get there at 6 a.m., I set an alarm like an engineer trying to optimize everything for 5:53 a.m. And if that alarm went off at 5:53, I had to get up, I had to put on my clothes, run downstairs, my friend was there with the car, we drive to the gym, and that was the start of our day. Now, if I missed that 5:53 alarm, if I slept in, if I snoozed, I missed that workout, my whole day was thrown off. So for me, this idea of 5:53 became a number that I got really attached to. So this year, when we had to shift to online workshops, we've run more than 10 time management workshops to help people get the most out of their day. And now workshops like this, where we look at how do you get the most out of the whole year. So if you really want to make some time this year to develop these top 5 skills, if you want to look at a calendar and start planning out your day, planning out your week, get the most out of it, for me, one of the most practical things, which fairly rarely is ever just said explicitly, I think getting up early is the key. Now, more important to any of this is sleep. If you're not getting your 8 hours sleep, don't get up early so you can use this tip. But getting sleep is number 1. But after you get that sleep, if you can get up early in the morning, it's been a game changer. So I want to give you a couple of ways that are really practical to do that. The first thing is we created a Facebook group called Club 553, which is the corniest, silliest sounding group ever. And it's literally a group full of people posting selfies at 5:53 in the morning of waking up. It's a whole bunch of really bad hair photos of me. But the whole idea is if I'm telling you to do this, I'm going to show you that I'm doing it every day. This morning at 5:30, I'm posting that group. I'm up, I'm reading, I'm working on a skill that I want to develop. So if you're someone who likes accountability, you like other people keeping you accountable, you like the idea of sticking to something and you're up for a bit of a challenge, I really recommend jumping in and getting involved in this group. So if you just type in hashtag Club 553 into Facebook, it's purely a group. If you're into waking up early, starting your day right, that's where you can go and find me if you ever want to connect there. The second thing is the second, third, and fourth thing here are 3 different formulas that I try to use every day that have made such a big difference and have created space for me to develop these skills. The first is 60 and you, starting the first hour of the day, 60 minutes, putting yourself in the best energy state possible. So for me, 10 minutes of mindfulness or gratitude, half an hour of exercise when I get the days right, and I can, not every day, and 20 minutes of learning, whether that's reading a book, listening to a TED talk, something that expands my mind. The second one down there, 60 and 1. That first hour of the day, zoning in on your number 1 priority. So whatever you're most focused on for that day, if it's an assignment due at the end of the week, spending 1 good hour at the start of the day focused on that. I've been amazed how often we run this in teams, workplaces, startups, clubs, staff, doesn't matter. And if people just get that first hour of their day right, they can often get through a whole big chunk of their work. Sometimes they just got to send one really important email or do one report or do the tute questions. If they get that 1 hour right, it opens up the rest of the day. And the third one down there at the bottom on this list is a 60 and wrap, which we talked about earlier. Reflect, analyze, and plan 1 hour at the end of the week, looking back over your 8 goal categories and asking yourself, did I use my time well this week? Am I developing in these 8 different areas which lead to a really happy and fulfilling life? And am I developing these 5 skills that employers are saying explicitly they will assess you for in 2020 on average across the board? Some variation between degrees. So if you look at that end of the week, you might ask yourself, of these 5 skills, did I do at least one thing this week to help me develop those skills? And if you did, that's the time to capture it, add it to a resume, write about it on LinkedIn, put it in a blog post, share with employers that you're actually developing these skills because that's what they're crying out for. So if you're interested in some accountability, if you want to really start the day off right, to start the week off right, to get the most out of 2020, 60 and you, 60 and 1, 60 and wrap. And I challenge you, if you can pop that 5:53 alarm on tomorrow, jump up, post a terrible selfie. It's totally fine. We'd love to hear from you if you're into it, if you want to start the day and really get the most out of each and every day. So we're at 10:22. We've got a few minutes in a second that we'll open up for Q&A. But as we open that up, the last couple of slides that I'll link you and I'll share with you the PowerPoint. One is a list of books and TED Talks. So one of the things that I wish I lent more into when I was a student was making time for reading that wasn't related to my degree or just watching things that really stimulated me. So whether it's TED Talks, whether it's books, whether it's podcasts, whether it's an online course, something that shows that you're growing. And if you're really intentional about it, you might say, okay, I really want to get better at being more productive. So I'll read a book about being highly effective and productive. Very, very good. I want to get better at my interpersonal skills. I'll read a book about empathy and compassion and vulnerability, or watch the TED Talks, whatever your sort of learning style is. So there's links there. It's all hyperlinked. It's in the slide deck. Today, some of the things that we talked about will set off this session and this series and how to stand out in 2020. There's top 5 skills, a whole list of online resources, what your peers are doing, calendars, TED Talks, hyperlinks to online courses, but also this is a series. So you'll be sent an email. You may have even already been sent an email. Oh no, you'll be sent it after today around a series registration. So if you like this, if you're into it, if you're willing to open up an hour and a half of your week for the next few weeks, really encourage you to register for the whole series. We'd love to see you in each and every one of these online workshops. You'll see there's some little moments of overlap because obviously it all fits together as it should. But they're very discrete, different skill sets. And there'll also be a chance where you can ask us what you'd like for us to talk about. So if we hear that you'd all like us to talk about a particular thing, we'll build that into the content and make sure it's really appropriate for you. Jose saying, can you please share the previous slide for a second? I can. So if you want to screenshot that or anything, but I'll also send it out in the slides. So you'll get the PowerPoint. Willow's asking me to get the PowerPoint. You will. We're going to send it out after today. Now, a final thing, if you'd be so kind, is I'm just going to pop in the chat this link. And this is a feedback link for today. We would love 100% of you to fill it out. So we've left intentionally. I want to respect your time. You've committed to an hour and a half. We've got this last 5 minutes left for Q&A. During this Q&A, I'd really like if you could take just 1 minute out to fill in this feedback form and let us know what you thought. What did you like about today? What will you remember? What will you use? And how could we make this better? I'll make all of this feedback. I'll send it back towards Griffith so they know whether it's me or another presenter in the future or next trimester. Is this what you want? Did this hit the nail on the head? Do you want more detail? Do you want more examples? Like, what do you want? How could we make it better? I'll have this link. I'll send out the PowerPoint directly afterwards to everybody who fills in the survey too. So for access to the PowerPoint slides, they'll go out to everybody who fills in the survey. And then once you've got the slides, feel free. You can share them around with your friends and peers. It's totally fine with me. I make everything totally available. I give you everything that I've got because I learnt it from others. So all I ask is if you'd be so kind to please grab this link. It's in the chat, fill it out. It'll only take a minute or two. And then if I can help you with anything in the future, obviously all my links are there. Now, given we've left 5 minutes for Q&A and we've finished right on time, hopefully we will get you out of here at 10:30 as we've planned for. Is there anything I can help anybody with? Does anyone have a specific question about standing out, about finding a job in a particular industry? And I'd love if you could jump off mute and share it with me so we can have a conversation and work it through. So does anyone have a question at all about anything that we've talked about today? Any of these 5 skills? Anything at all?
I have a question.
Sure. Hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks. I want to know, how do employers want to be approached for potential work experience that they haven't advertised, whether they have a job, whether they have a task in mind, or there's something that they could use that I can offer?
Yeah, awesome, Selena. Thanks for that. What industry are you in? Or what industry do you want to be in?
Environmental engineering and the waste sector.
Awesome. Cool. So a couple of things. This is a people game. This is all about people. I'm just going to mute you there, my friend, just because we're getting a bit of background interference. So Selena, can you just let me know? Sorry, I just muted you so we could hear. Are you on LinkedIn right now, Selena?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you. This is my single best piece of advice I can possibly think of. I plead for everybody to do it. And when people do it, it works time and time again. So we're saying environmental engineering. Selena, how many environmental engineers do you know?
Students or real?
In industry, real engineers.
2.
2. Okay, great. So those ones that you already know, I'd really recommend touching base with them, saying, hey, I want to learn more about this industry, have a virtual coffee, and ask them, who do you know that I should know? Ask them for a couple of introductions. That'll be the first. The second thing that you can do on LinkedIn is, if you're on LinkedIn, you can go to Griffith University, comes up as a school because it's an American product. Within Griffith University, so this is everyone, for every degree, you can go down and click on alumni. Now, have you ever been here, Selena?
No.
Okay, so there's 141,000 students and alumni that are fully searchable. So if you were to type in environmental engineering, or engineer, say, you get 1,652 alumni. So of those, what it does is it shows you some of the top companies they work for. So Selena, have you applied for a job at Oricon or GHD before?
No.
Okay, what about, let's go a little bit further down. What about, do you have any idea what SLR Consulting is?
Again, no.
No, right? Neither do I. Who knows what it is? So let's go on a little adventure in the last 2 minutes we have here. So I'd go down here and go, okay, there's 4 Griffith engineers who are working at SLR Consulting. Who knows what that is? So what I might do is, you could click on any of these people, and sometimes I look for shared connections, but pick on any of them, someone who looks friendly. And with a bit of luck, now they've come up under Griffith, so they must have had something to do with Griffith at some point in time. Yep, here you go. Oh, look at that. President as an alliance. Very, very cool. Why we always say get involved in clubs. Did an environmental management degree at Griffith. Then did a master's. Really cool. And now works at whatever SLR Consulting is. So if I was you, Selena, I'd be jumping on Max. In 300 letters, I'd say something like, hi, Maxime. My name is Selena, and I'm a ... You get where I'm going, right? I'm a Griffith University student. I'm passionate about environmental engineering. I really just want to learn more about the field. I see that you're a Griffith alumni. Would you have any time for a virtual coffee over the next week or 2? And I would go through these different people in different organizations. LinkedIn, you're sending an invite to connect. So it looks like Facebook, but it's email. You can reach out to almost anybody. And if you feel weird about that, you can get a premium account and send people an in-mail, which is more like an email. But I would go through these different people, find some different companies. And I'd literally, Selena, if I was you, I'd challenge you to reach out to 10 people a day for the next 10 days. I would love you to send 100 connection requests. And I think in the next couple of weeks, you could probably have 10, 20, 30 virtual coffees. And in all of those people, the goal is connect with them, learn about them. People like talking about themselves. So if you ask them a couple of questions about their journey, you're not asking them for a job, but you're asking, if you were me, what would you do now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you so much.
Cool. And so at the end, the secret question at the end of every one of those conversations is, who else do you know that I should speak to? And then people go, oh, you should speak to, you remind me of my niece, and she's an environmental engineer in Canada. Here's her email address, or whatever. And then that opens up that network effect of more and more people. So
yeah, that's such a powerful question.
Is that helpful?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Selena. And Grace has said if you want to add to that, the Griffith Industry Mentoring Program is a good one as well. So I'd get involved with what Griffith offers, and I'd also jump out there, reach out. People respect people who show a bit of gumption. You know, one of those 20 people who has a coffee with you, someone's going to, like, they will have had their intern quit or their work placement person quit, or someone who had a graduate job offer and they've gone and taken one with ACOM instead. And all of a sudden, who was that really friendly person who I had a coffee with 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago or a year ago? You come up top of mind. So I really lean into that space. I'd really recommend jumping on LinkedIn and using it. If you are on that space, obviously it's somewhere where I play quite a lot. I absolutely love it. So if you're interested in connecting, I'm here. If you just type in Josh Farr, I'll pop up. But with that, it's 10:30 on the dot. So we want to thank you for tuning in today. That is the end of this session. I'll send the slides out to everyone who's filled in the feedback form. So if you have already, I thank you. If you haven't, please do it super, super quickly so I can send them out to you today. But thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. And we hope to see you in the future sessions as well. So please register for the whole series. Sydney, Will, Lynn, you're so, so welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really look forward to seeing you again. And make the most of this time. It's a tough time, but you can come out of it and stand out in 2020. Show your resilience, show your teamwork, show what you've done. And I wish you all the best. So tomorrow, that feedback form, I'm just popping it back in the chat. It's there if you want to click on it and fill it out. I really appreciate that. We'll see you later. See you later, Grace, and some of those familiar faces. I hope to see you all again. Have an awesome day. And if you have any questions, shoot me a LinkedIn message or an email. I'll be happy to answer it. Thanks, friends. I'll see you again. We've got to run. Have an amazing day, and we will speak with you soon. We'll stop the recording there, and then we'll stop the